let us talk about another eminent educationist who has given a lot as far as the education system is concerned, that is Zakir Hussain. Zakir Hussain Khan, as we know, was an Indian economist and a politician who served as the third president of India from 13th May 1967 until his death, that was on 3rd May 1969. We know that he was not just the first Muslim president of India, but also the first Indian president to die in office. Dr. Zakir Hussain is basically known not just for being a nationalist leader or or a politician, but he is basically known for educationist par excellence, because he gave his educational ideas like Nai Taaleem. In Nai Taaleem, we gathered Dr. Hussain was the one who advocated that the role of educational system should be to promote the Indian languages, and mother tongue should be made very much relevant as far as the education system is concerned. He was secular to the core, and he believed that Hindustani, which was understood by both Hindus and Muslims, should be made the medium of education. In fact, it should be the language which should replace the English. Just like other contemporaries, basically let us here talk about the Dr. Ambedkar, who is also an eminent educationist and a very intelligent man. He also believed that the education is a tool for social justice and empowerment. When we talk about empowerment, who are to be empowered? Not the one who are already empowered. The people who need to be empowered, they can be empowered through education. May it be the girls, may it be the downtrodden, may it be the people who are economically poor. All those who require social justice, they can be empowered through the tool which is education. And Zakir Hussain believed that the education is the one which solves the problem of the state of affairs. What kind of state of affairs? May it be the social affairs, may it be the political affairs. When we talk about a state of affairs which are being solved by the education, for example, the students who are sitting for long hours silently in the classroom receiving lessons in the complete passivity in the manner which is unchildlike conformity. This was something which was rejected by Zakir Hussain, that the child should not be sitting for long hours and just receiving the lessons which are being delivered by the teacher as a lecture, because that makes him a passive listener, not a learner. And this is the system which kills the natural ardor of the child, because he is just listening and he become a listless person. Apart from that, even the teacher is just advocating what he or she is advocating without taking into consideration that a person who is listening, that is the child who is listening, also has a persona, also has a thought pattern, also has a brain, also has an attitude and aptitude. All these things are not being taken into consideration if the child is simply listening in the class. Another important feature which Zakir Hussain has talked about when he talks about good education system is scarcity of good teachers. He believed that the teachers are as available in the systems, that is, the teachers, due to the fact that they are not good, they are not sensitive towards the children, they are not really interested in their subject. The reason is that we are not getting good teachers. The reason for that is that our system is harsh towards teacher, it is cruel towards teacher, and it doesn't look at teacher with the kind of respect it should be looking at. Another important aspect which he has pointed out was that indiscrimination on the basis of this curriculum is something which should be stopped, because he believed that the curriculum which was being filtered by the teacher during that time was not just meaningless but also very hard for the understanding of the child, because he believed that the existing educational system during those times was not enabling democratic educator, because the system of education should be working as to enable democratic educators, and it should be disposing of that the person should be learning on his own, that how through the education, that how his or her mistakes are to be taken care of. He or she should become the critical thinker as well as the creative thinker. So, the ready-made educational ideas are failing that particular feature. So, that education system was criticized by him because he believed that education is not the process of pressing into a shape, but letting loose and setting free, which respects the unique and specific individuality of the educand. Who is educand? The one who is being educated. And to develop that unique and specific individuality of the student, it is important that the child is let loose and set free. Here, if you can correlate it, we can correlate it with the naturalist, because naturalist also believed in letting loose and setting free the child. As far as the Indian education system is concerned, Zakir Hussain believed that Indian education system can be successful by advocating the ideas and principles which are of relevant to it, and it should be evolving. It should be evolving in a manner that it helps in the growth and development of democratic way of life. Now, let us try to understand what is democratic way of life. Democratic way of life means free thinking. It means being able to do what you like, being able to think freely as well as being able to talk freely. And but that freedom has to be curbed to the extent that it should be harmonious to the democratic principles. That means the whatever is being stated, what is being taught, that should be only developed for the social ends, and it should be developed with the selflessness. This is the most important aspect, because Zakir Hussain believed that the basic principle of education in a democracy should be reverence to the individuality of the child, and the child who is to grow into the citizen through his intelligent and willing participation in education. Now, let us try to understand that how democracy can have an impact on the education, or how education can have an impact on the democracy from the perspective of Zakir Hussain. For democracy, the discharge of duties to himself and to the society by every citizen, this is possible if the competencies are discovered and developed to their fullest by the education. How can that happen? That can only happen if the education system is democratic. And how education system can be made democratic? If it takes into consideration that the educand has to be developed as an independent entity, as a person who is going to be who is going to be not just the creative as well as the critical thinker. And how can you develop a critical thinker? If the person has been given the kind of a freedom what a person requires. It's not just the freedom, but also freedom to experiment, freedom to learn, freedom to think. These are the aspects which make a person independent as well as free thinker, democratic thinker. So, as far as the process of education is concerned, Zakir Hussain compared it with the growing development of human body. Just as from the embryonic beginning, human being grows into the full stature by means of soluble food, movement, exercise, and that is in accordance with the physical and the chemical law. Similar to that, education system should be developing. That means that the education system is not static. This also means that the education system keeps on developing throughout the society, throughout the life of an individual as well as life of the system. So, the system also needs to be dynamic. This also means that the person should be getting himself educated throughout the life. The two meanings we can gather from what process of education was from the Zakir Hussain. So, as far as the mind is concerned, when it grows and develops from its original disposition to the full evolutionary cultivation because of the mental food, mental exercise, according to the laws of mental growth, the result is that the human mind can think more, and the process of education which is continuing, in which the journey is as important as the destination. This is something which education as a system should keep in mind, because when the child is enjoying that journey, only then the destination will be as per the expectation of the child. So, Dr. Zakir Hussain understood it very well, that as far as the individual human mind is concerned, it has to be developed in such a manner that he process of education is always working towards development of human mind, and it also needs to be dynamic for the journey of an individual as well as journey of the education system. Now let us try to understand that how Zakir Hussain understood as far as the education system in the school is concerned, how he correlated the education system with the school. We know that Dr. Zakir Hussain was very much concerned about the school education, and he understood that as far as the school education is concerned, it continuously work for providing the courses which will make a person noble as well as critical thinking. So he believed that the schooling is as far as the schooling is concerned, it should be equated with learning, that is 3 hours, and 3 hours should not be the limitation. In fact, the gradual initiation to the life should be purpose of schooling. He believed that school should be familiar with the society, family and individuals, and accordingly devise the education which should be able to correlate with the society, with the family as well as the individual, that is educand over here, that is the student. He believed that as far as the school are concerned, they are not for creation of an evil mind, and if they remain oblivious of that interest of the society or interest of the family or interest of the individual, then naturally it will be working on that way only, and they will not be doing the function which they are specifically created for. He believed that as far as the education system is concerned, the English educator in particularly, he understood that the knowledge is idle in community if it becomes the private possession of historic category. That is, the education should not be limited to the people, with the few people who understand education, who are wise, and they try to control education system. If that happens, then the education will fail its system. So he believed that coterie as far as the education is concerned, that should be avoided, that should not be there in the system. He understood that the education to become effective and to produce effective leaders who shall be able to bring the world of change, it should not be delimited to particular coterie. As far as the Hussain is concerned, the primary objective of the education, he believed, was to create leadership to the community as well as to create community and society which was enabled for self-sustenance, as well as the education system should be the academic organ of the community, not of some particular group or coterie. It should be having the interaction with the complete community, the complete society. His view as far as the university education is concerned are also very clear, because he considered that the university education means work education. That means the work should be at the center of instrument of education when it comes to higher education. He wanted education to be considered by the students to be lifelong, so as to become relevant for the lifelong. As far as the student is concerned, it is very much important that it makes student not just able to do something, that is skill orientation is not only something which the university education should be enabling, but also that student should be able to understand how to improve oneself and become the effective leader as far as the community is concerned to which he belongs. Because if the person is not able to revert back and contribute to the community and the society from which he or she is coming, then we would understand that the education system is wasted. particularly the higher education system is wasted. How that can happen? That can only happen by learning to respect work and treat it as an instrument of educating minds, so that universities could repay their debt to the society. So, in fact, as far as the universities is concerned, they are tools in the hand of society, and they have to work for the expectation of the society. So, in this connection, let us try to understand what Zakir Hussain promoted or propagated as far as the university education is concerned. Let us try to understand in the connection of Ramsay Iyer. He observed that the principal purpose of university education is to enable one to serve the country in its variegated scientific and technological necessities. That means the university education should be scientific in nature as well as technical in nature. In fact, when the education system was being seen, particularly the problem of Indian education system, he saw that the Indian education system has the problem of evasion. Evasion means avoiding. What we are avoiding as far as the university education system is concerned, it evades from questioning, it evades from understanding the issues, it evades from finding answers to the issue, and the result is lack of research, lack of technical know-how, and lack of scientific understanding. And that of course result in university becoming not remaining passionate as far as becoming excellent is concerned. So, that passion of excellence will only come if the Indian universities are attacking the problem, understanding the problem, attacking the problem. So, the university, he believed that as far as the people are concerned, the people should not be patient. As far as the poverty is concerned, dirt is concerned, disease is concerned, incompetence is concerned, they should be taken as problem which are to be attended to, and they should be attacked. If the university students are made competent enough to attack to these poverty problem, dirt problem, disease and incompetency, then only we can say that the university education from the Zakir Hussain perspective is successful. Zakir Hussain also believed that patience is not to be seen as passivity. So, patience has to be combined with diligence, and unless it is combined with diligence, it is a crime. That means remaining patient as an educator, remaining a patient as a university student is a crime. So, if university discharges its obligation particularly to the community, then there is no earthly reason why a new world, to which Dr. Hussain has again and again dreamt of and talked about, which was not just democratic but also technologically and scientifically very much developed. So, that was the world which Zakir Hussain thought of, Zakir Hussain imagined about, and to have that world, it was very important that there shouldn't be any kind of a controversy between science and humanities. It shouldn't be seen that, particularly in the modern world, it should not be seen that the science is different from humanities. No. As far as Dr. Zakir Hussain is concerned, his views are clear as far as this controversy between science and humanities is concerned, because he believed that advanced modern world has made, as in the recent past, whatever advances that have been made are due to the application of scientific knowledge and its application to the social and political problem that man has faced within. So, both science as well as humanities are there to target the same issues, are there to promote the same community, are there to serve the same society and same notion. So, there is no controversy as far as science and humanities is concerned. Friends, from here we can correlate it with the NEP 2020. Friends, as you know that in NEP 2020 also we have talked about getting rid of demarcation between science and humanities. Why is it so? So that the education system can become the research oriented, as well as the education system, particularly university education system, should become the kind which is there to resolve the problems. And as far as the specialization is concerned, Dr. Zakir Hussain also laments that. He believed that the specialization in each field of technology has resulted in a jargon, and that jargon is making it very distinctive. In fact, it is not making it specialized. In fact, it is making it isolated. So, he did not approve of it, that super specialization, because that was taking it away. So, if we understand how Zakir Hussain understood the education system, particularly university education system, let us take the words of C.P. Snow. Never was the exclusion of one branch of knowledge from another so pronounced, and neither was one faculty so developed at the expense of the other as we find today. So, here Dr. Zakir Hussain concludes that humanities or science are not something mutually contradictory, but they are complementary. So, we should not take super specialization or specialization as means to make it something important and develop a jargon in that particular subject area or in that particular discipline. Rather, we should make it simple, simplify it to such an extent that it become of importance to the society, because that is the basic function of humanities as well as the sciences. As to understand Zakir Hussain well, we have to realize that science is also there to work for the upgradation of the society. So, the science cannot be devoid of values. Science has to be ethical, science has to be moral. In fact, he pointed out that the science is a system of philosophy without ethics, and science is devoid of ethical judgment, becomes an ally of everyone, of the good as well as bad, and is of the service in changing the world into paradise or reducing it to the veritable hell. So, he believed that science should not be devoid of values. In fact, how can it happen? It can happen only if the science and humanities are working in a complementary basis. Otherwise, as he has stated, that the science in its isolation can become a tool in the hand of evil also. As far as to understand how he viewed education, let us understand it is in his own words. As a President of India, he said, "I maintain that education is a prime instrument of national purpose, and that quality of its education is inseparable. It is involved in the quality of the nation." That is, the quality of the education is inseparably involved in the quality of nation. So, this is how he viewed education system. As to understand what were his thoughts as far as the basic education is concerned, we can have a view at Wardha Committee report, which was headed by Dr. Zakir Hussain himself, and he of course he gave emphasis on Gandhiji's viewpoint, and because Wardha Committee is not just only his understanding of the education system, that is Zakir Hussain's understanding education system, rather it is also a document which encompasses thinking of Gandhiji's on education, because in Wardha Committee report also mother tongue was taken as a medium of instruction. It was emphasized that the mother tongue should be medium of instruction, and he also advocated that there should be free, compulsory and universal education within the age group 7 to 14. This is also similar to what Gandhiji also believed. Then in the same report, the manual productive skill were emphasized to be imparted to the children, as well as special emphasis on the handicrafts was given. Then there was also talk about fusion of theory and practical, that is learning by doing, and co-education initially was emphasized. Friends, here you can understand that this and the viewpoint of Gandhiji as far as the basic education is concerned are almost same. To progress further, now let us try to understand that in Wardha Committee, the core aim of basic education was to help students to develop self-sufficiency, and education should develop human values in the child. In fact, the basic education should be aimed to achieve harmonious development of the child's body, mind, heart and soul, and it also believed that to create useful and responsible dynamic citizen, this should be the agenda, or this should be the aim of education system, and religion should not interfere with the education. This is a very important aspect, friends. He believed that education should be very much secular, and students should be taught in a manner that they respect all religion. Friends, with this we have covered Zakir Hussain and Mahatma Gandhi, and we shall be talking about Rabindranath Tagore also. But before that, let us try to understand them, let us try to conclude whatever I have discussed in the current lecture. Because Rabindranath Tagore shall be discussed, it needs to be discussed at length, and he shall be discussed in my next lecture. So, first of all, let us try to understand that one, that as far as these educationists are concerned, who were basically there in the political as well as the nationalist movement as to free India from the Britishers. They viewed education as a tool, and they understood the education is a tool not just to provide the scientific and technical know-how to the student, but also they understood that the education has to be utilized for the importance of the society. And how can that be done? If the education is changed for the need of the society, for that need of the society has to be understood. That is why these educationists criticized the education system which was being advocated by the English people, because they believed that this is the education system which has been created by the English for their own interest, and that is why this doesn't make the education system culturally so relevant as it should be doing. That is why both Dr. Zakir Hussain and Gandhiji has talked about Indianization of the education system, because they were the people who were also involved in the Indianization or the renaissance of the education, and that is the 19th century. They are the people who were very much involved in not just developing but also providing the education system to the Indian in the 19th century, which is called the renaissance of Indian education system. So, they talked about education system which was based in the history as well as the society and the cultural need of India. So, it has to be Indian education system in spirit, in mind as well as in soul. To make that, it was very much relevant that the education system should be Indianized. By Indianizing, of course, these experts or educationists, what they meant was that as to Indianize education system, it is very much relevant that education system should be first in the mother tongue of the child. Secondly, it should not be super specialized, and it should be close to the heart of the child. It should be socially and culturally relevant. It should be working for development of mind as well as heart. 3 R's which was being advocated by the British system, that is arithmetic and English, that was not suffice as far as the development of the nation was concerned. So, from here on, what we can understand is that the education system which was propagated and promoted by these two eminent educationists is a very much developed and visionary in its nature, because as we have already discussed in my lecture that most of these aspects have again been covered in NEP 2020. So, after centuries again we are talking about the same things. That means the things which were highlighted by them during that particular period are so visionary that they can guide us in the future as well. On this note, I, Dr. Renu Tomar, is signing off with the promise to join you back again in the next part of the series of Relevance of Indian Thinkers in Indian Education System. Namaskar, Jai Hind, and very good afternoon, and take care of yourself and take care of your owns. Namaskar.